Hey, folks, we're back with news you can act on from where you are. Not activism, but true journalism, and no one better to be with than today, world-renowned speaker, former world anchor, and the president and chairman of the largest grassroots organization in America, none other than Brigitte Gabriel. Hello, Brigitte.
Hello, Brent. Delighted to be with you for another episode.
There you go. I'm very excited today. You know, Brigitte, the feedback I got was off the charts. We have a professional newscast, but people get to see your soul. They get to see who you are. They love you. You would not believe the feedback I've gotten and the excitement, because so many people felt hopeless. Now they know they can do something from where they are, literally from their pajamas, like you like to say. But on the most serious note, there are some very serious things going on, being funded by the enemies of our country. You've got the scoop. What's happening in your world?
Well, look, everybody is focused on the midterm elections right now. Everybody is concerned about what's going to happen in the midterm election. You know, winning is not a guarantee, even though we know that there's a red wave coming. The red wave is coming for sure, but the guarantee part is not really a guarantee, because the Democrats are organized. They are willing to lie. They are willing to cheat. They have the money to fund cheaters and liars. And look what Zuckerberg did with the drop mailboxes. So now, while everybody is focused on the midterm election, I want to discuss what the Democrats are planning and their strategy and the millions of dollars they are getting ready to pump to make sure that this happens, to the tune of $160 million. There are two major organizations on the left right now ready to spend $80 million each to impact local election. And I want to read you some numbers because this is so important. Our side has no idea what we are dealing with on the leftist radical side. They watch the news. You watch AOC, you watch Ilhan Omar, you watch Rashida Tlaib, you watch Ileana Presley, you watch all the radicals on the left and what they're doing and what they're talking about in their social media. And of course, the theater that they put on, you know, being arrested with their hands behind their back, you know, without any shackles. It's all for the cameras. But the science behind their operation is mind-boggling. And we know they have been winning elections by funneling millions of dollars into elections. What makes it troublesome right now is they are funneling millions of dollars into local municipal elections, local elections, which could be swayed by literally a box of donuts. I mean, you know, on the local level, running for school board, running for city council, running for clerks, running for precinct leaders. Do you know that precinct leader, to run for a precinct leader, all you need is 5 people to sign a petition nominating you to be a precinct leader, including yourself. So if you are a married man and you have 3 children, you could literally get your wife and your 3 children to sign it, and you become a precinct leader. You get elected. So it's the lowest level of elected official in the United States, yet it is most powerful. So what I'm going to share with you right now is the numbers of money that where the Democrats are putting their money in and their strategy. And actually, I'm going to borrow my glasses. I don't know what God was thinking. I used to see 2020. All of a sudden, you know, you get to be 50 years old, and then God decided I needed to wear reading glasses. But
I think you look like Wonder Woman. I mean, come on.
Thank you. Okay, so here it goes. 2 Democratic liberal operations are ready to spend $160 million, $80 million each, are trying to determine who controls the elections and how, American elections. They want to change the way we conduct overall election. Now, they learned a lot of tricks from the 2020 election, and they are trying to refine their art right now. One of the groups is a 527 PAC called Run for Something. Run for Something was started by a Hillary Clinton aide, and it established its project called the Clerk Work Project, with the goal of electing clerks, election supervisors, registrars, recorders, and other local officials charged with running elections and promoting thousands of election administrators in the coming years. They budgeted $80 million to win local elections. Another group is the Alliance for Election Excellence. It's a 5-year, another $80 million project made up of 7 nonprofit organizations aimed at advising local election offices on how to run elections in their jurisdictions. Local election clerks are empowered to interpret and enforce state election regulations. They have discretion on whether to count absentee ballots that come in a day after the election or way after the election, how strictly to enforce voter ID or signature matching requirements, and how closely poll watchers may monitor the ballot counting on election day. Can you imagine? I mean, look what they're paying attention to.
That is outrageous.
It's unbelievable. Run for Something Clerk Work Project, which started in April, is set to span 3 years and encompass 35 states. It's a national project to elect leftist election officials. They are trying to duplicate Soros's project in electing candidates for district attorney. Remember when Soros funded to the tune of millions to elect local district attorneys? By the way, he spent more than $40 million in the past decade to elect scores of liberal prosecutors in half of America's largest jurisdictions, many of which are now roiled in crime. He has backed 75 so-called justice reform prosecutors through direct contributions, political action committees, and other third-party entities. Even though many had little prosecutorial experience when they get elected, they represent 72 million Americans in some of the nation's most populous nationalities. So what the Democrats are doing right now is they realize that worked so well, that plan under Soros. I mean, remember, they've been funding it for the last 10 years, that now they are repeating that strategy and that success on the local level. They are aiming to win down ballot races, endorsing candidates, and helping to fund their campaigns. Clerk Work Project is specifically focused to elect county clerks, county registrars, and county recorders, all with supervisory roles over local elections. The Clerk Work Project will be supporting over 5,000 candidates for local offices in charge of election administration. So yes, when we talk about, oh my gosh, this is going to be great, a red wave is coming, the economy is in shambles, inflation is in shambles, the housing market, China's taking us over, disastrous foreign policy, all that is good. And yes, the American public is mobilized, but the Democrats are plotting and they are planning, and we need to meet them on the playing field. Exactly. And so, like you said, this is news you can act on. We're not just giving you information, but what you can do about it. Act for America, my organization, actforamerica.org, we launched our own campaign back in March called Secure Our Elections, because we know how dirty, we anticipated how dirty they were going to play. So if you go on actforamerica.org, click on Get Involved in the tab, and click on our Secure Our Election project. You can volunteer. You can become involved in your local elections. You can become plugged into a local group. We will train you. We will mentor you. We will support you. We will help you how to be effective in your local community. And by the way, Brent, most people don't realize these local elections in the local community. Yeah, do you know, like, for example, in my city school board, do you know how many people showed up to elect a school board member? 150 people. 150 people. Wow. We cannot complain about what's happening in our school system if we're not willing to show up on election day and vote. So what Act for America is doing is we are giving you the tools. We're not only educating you about the problem, but we are giving you the tools so you can know what to do with the news that you are learning about and how you can be effective, how to get plugged in with a local group or start your own local chapter. Can you imagine if you have a chapter, you started with 5 people, you and 4 of your best friends. Every chapter meeting, each one brings 1 extra person once a month. Notice the duplication effort in 6 months, how many people you will have. If you have a chapter with 150 members who can show up and who can run for school board or elect school board members, or become a poll worker, or become a registrar, or become a clerical worker in the election, we will win this nation. We will take back our country. People need to know where to go. Go to actforamerica.org, click on Get Involved, and become involved in our Secure Our Election project.
It must happen, Brigitte. And it begs the question, I mean, why hasn't the right been as organized? Why haven't they put those kind of funds into elections as well? Is it because they assume that people will play by the rules? We have an enemy that does not play by the rules, folks. It's time to put your money where your mouth is. Go to actforamerica.org. Very, very friendly website. I'm there right now. You can sign up for the action alerts, even during this broadcast. I want to encourage you, actforamerica.org. This is your chance to act on what you're seeing. And of course, again, Brigitte, I'm thrilled from the feedback that we're getting from people. People know it is time. When the rubber meets the road, it is time to act. But I am curious, though, why hasn't there been this type of funding and this type of efforts in regards to the right when it comes to local elections?
Well, the right, on our side, you've got the donors on the right who are focused on what I call the sexy titles.
Right.
They support congressmen and they support senators and somebody running for governor or lieutenant governor. And these are great, they are very, very important candidates that we need to support. But on the right, they forgot to focus on the local government and local municipalities and local officials and local positions. Right. They're not as sexy, they're not as important. And so they're not focusing on them. But we need to. This is where the battle is won and lost. And this is where the battle is won and lost by literally, you can influence elections by taking a box of donuts to a school and say, hey, I'm running for school board or whatever. March your community, meet your neighbor, get plugged into a local group. That's where we are going to win elections. And we need to make sure, if we are going to make sure that we have integrity to our elections, that our election process is working right, we want to make sure we have a seat at the table. We are on the inside. A lot of people on the right sign up to be an election watchers. Everybody is excited. Oh, I volunteer. I'm an election watcher. There's a huge difference between an election watcher and an election worker. Right. An election worker is actually getting paid to be an election worker. Right. The federal government even trains you on how to be an election worker and pay you for it. Election watcher, you're basically like a traffic control person. You're standing there in front of the polling station. You're telling people, okay, here's where you vote, go here. Here's your sticker. Here's this. It's ornamental position. You're like a traffic cop. That's it. It's when the polls close, the election workers tell the election watchers, okay, you can go home now. And that's where the election workers stay inside, lock the door, and they start pulling suitcases from under the tables filled up with fake ballots. And we all have seen what happened in the last election.
Oh, yeah. Well, the watchers were kept 6 feet away. You can't see anything.
That's right.
From 6 feet away, folks. So
exactly.
It is time to get active. It's time to do something. Run for something. Brigitte, you are raising up the next generation of women, conservative leaders, but not just women leaders. You're inspiring a lot of people, both men and women, young and old, are fans of you, Brigitte. I'm very excited about what you're doing, about what we're doing now, too. For so long, people have felt helpless as this culture of fear has been propagated by the enemies of our country. Folks, you don't know what's at stake. Why would Soros spend millions? Why would Zuckerberg spend millions? Why would other foundations spend millions? It's because they have a very clear and stated goal. It's not just about winning an election. It is toppling a country from the inside out, folks. Your country, if you can't do it for yourself, do it for your children, do it for your children's children. And during this broadcast, the first news broadcast of its kind, you can take action specifically right now in real time when you go for actforamerica.org. Go to actforamerica.org. It's not pray for America, not hope for America, not wish for America. And Brigitte, as you pointed out in our last broadcast, we should do all those things. But the enemy of the best is the good. It's good to do those things. The best is to get active. Become an operative today for Act for America and go to actforamerica.org. Very friendly site. Sign up for the action alerts. Folks, what you're spending on Starbucks, hey, you might want to ask yourself who Starbucks supports. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a whole nother show of buying local and buying from people. You go woke, you go broke. Just look at it, folks. They don't seem to learn. But you know what? Align yourself with like-minded people in your neighborhood, because strong homes that love our country, God family country, make strong neighborhoods.
That's
Strong
right.
neighborhoods make strong towns, strong cities, strong state, strong nation. We can't leave the election in the hands of those who are proven to cheat with no fear of any consequence. We've got to come together now and act for America.
Right. Right. They have no conscience. The left, the radical left, they have no conscience. They have no integrity. They are willing to do anything in order to win at all costs. And that's how we got to be in the point where we are in our country. And our side sat on the sideline thinking, I'm praying for our country. I'm believing in our country. It couldn't be that bad. But all of a sudden we realized it's not only that bad. Our election process is worse than third world countries.
Right.
If France can run an election and they know the results of their presidential election by the end of the day, why can't we? If Florida can figure out the results of the election, our state, immediately live at the closing of the election day and all the votes are counted, why can't the rest of the states? And that's where we need to be engaged. We need to be involved because this affects everything. We get the government we deserve.
Right.
And we deserve it because when people sit on the sidelines and don't do anything but complain to their next door neighbor, complaining doesn't change things. Action changes things. And that's what we are doing. And we are doing it because we love our country. And you know, folks, when you become involved with Act for America, you are not only making a difference for the country, but you will meet the most amazing, most energized, most patriotic people in this United States of America, that you're going to develop friendships, you're going to develop camaraderie, and you're going to make a difference for the country. And this is our time to become engaged and our time to act. So again, I encourage you, it's not enough to understand the news. We know what's happening in the news. What I just shared with you, this is what just came out, what we found out in the last 2 days.
Right.
So we are combing through the reports that we are getting, and we are learning what the organizations are that they are spending it through, how they are funneling their money, how they are hiding their money. I mean, remember the Chan Zuckerberg Fund, which later became Zuckerbucks, that they spent last year, almost $400 million Zuckerberg spent on those ballot boxes that were all collecting fake ballot boxes, unbelievable stuff. But this is the effect that they had because this is how much money they funneled. We don't have a Zuckerbucks. We don't have a Soros on the right. Our top donors on the Republican side are all older and passing away. So America has no one but us. Our philosophy at Act for America is this: when everyone does a little, together we accomplish a lot. Remember that. When everyone does a little, together we accomplish a lot. We all may not have an oil well in our backyard. By all means, if you're watching us in Texas and Oklahoma, and you happen to have an oil well in your backyard, please go to our website, actforamerica.org, and make a big 6-figure donation, or even a 7-figure if you are able to. Hey, I'm just throwing it out there. But obviously, most people are not living in Texas and Oklahoma, and we don't have an oil well in our backyard. Stand with us, even at $5 a week to help us fight this battle. $5 a week. You spend $5 a week on something you can't even think about. Soda from 7-Eleven, pops, coffee, $5 a week. It's spare change, but we need it for our country. Invest it in our country. I'm appealing to your generosity. Go to our website, actforamerica.org, and help us support keeping this message on the air, where we are not just informing you about the problem, we're telling you what to do with the problem, where you can make a difference. There are a lot of shows on the air who sell to a lot of advertisers, and they make a ton of money on advertising. We're not one of those shows. Right. We are a show that we are putting our neck on the line, and we said, this is a commitment that we need to do. We want to get you the information, the news, which you can listen to news, Fox News Channel, 24 hours a day, OAN, Newsmax, Fox Nation, all the conservative outlets, talk radio, on any talk radio nationwide. There are hundreds of hosts of talk radio nationwide, and they are all educating, and they are all informing you, and all is wonderful. But you need to know what to do with the information. And this is what this show, which makes it different than any other show, provides you what
Exactly.
to do with the information that we are sharing with you. So support our message so we can stay on the air. Support us with the donation. Go to actforamerica.org. Your donation is tax deductible. We need you now more than ever. Where else you can help the country impact policy with a tax deductible contribution?
Right.
Go to actforamerica.org and support us today.
You know, Brigitte, I'll never forget the night. I was standing there. We were doing a television taping, and a woman walks up and hands me a check for $25,000. That's how much they believe in you. That's how much they believe in Act for America. I want to encourage you folks. You know what I'm talking about. You'll spend at least $60 on a DoorDash. At least $60.
Yeah.
How much more can you invest in the future of your country and to protect the solidarity of patriots? Protect your country and stand with us and stand for the Constitution for the sake of this generation and for the sake of future generations as well. Now, Brigitte, Shelby from Midland, Texas. Shelby says, I've never considered a career in the political field, but I've been watching you and I've read your books. I've recently read the book Rise, the defense of Judeo-Christian values. Fantastic book. You're going to see that commercial, by the way, right after this. But you know what? Shelby wants to know, what do I do? How do I start? How can I stand and rise for my country today?
Oh, Shelby, thank you so much. What a great question. You know, I never in a million years thought I'm going to be a political activist. I started as a journalist. I started at 20 years old as news anchor for World News in the Middle East. But when you know there's a purpose for your life, when there is something on your heart, when you hear that sixth sense telling you, you need to move in this direction, follow it. Because right now we all need to be engaged to serve our country. And look, I don't even look at it as a political group. I look at it as a social group. With Act for America, our groups get together once a month. They sip coffee, they eat pizza, they talk about political issues. They talk about how many actions everybody has taken on our Act Now campaigns, basically holding each other accountable, making friends, socializing. It's a social club. It's not a political club. Yet at the same time making a difference. So go to our website, actforamerica.org. Start a chapter in your community. If there's no chapter, if there's a chapter, get plugged into that chapter and join it and start bringing more people to that chapter. Another thing you can do, if you are a member of a church or a group in your community, have them invite me to come speak. I would love to travel and come to your community and speak about and help you recruit people and help you make a difference. That's how we make a difference. That's how each one of us become an instrument of change for our country. Right. Look, it doesn't take many people to change the political landscape or change the world. Right. And on my website, BrigitteGabriel.com, my motto is 2% of the passionate will always rule the 98% indifferent. So all it takes 2% of the passionate. All we need is 2% of the Brand and the Brigitte and the Shelby and people like us, and we will change. And Diana, our chapter leader in Midland, I've got to put a plug for Diana. And that's what it takes to change the world. People who say, I'm going to step up, I'm going to make a difference. And for those of you who are watching us, if you do not have the time to start a chapter, if you do not have the time to join a chapter, if you do not have the time to volunteer of your effort and time, at least support us financially so we can allow people and plan on what we need to do, different programs in different areas to invest in your community and start making a difference.
I'm inspired and I'm already with you, Brigitte. You know, victory is within reach. It is possible, folks.
Yes, it is.
It is possible. You know, some of you have a lot of passion when you share political memes and you make your arguments and you're right on. And maybe the 5 people who Zuckerberg allows to actually see your post will be inspired.
That's right.
But you know, there comes a time when you have to step away from as much preaching to the choir and making an actual difference, boots on the ground. You know, when you saw part of the intro, you saw from where you are, you saw a street. This is street level, folks. Wisdom is wisdom. You know, the left may use wisdom in their strategies, in their attempts to bypass a legal election, folks. It is what it is.
Yes. And Brent, I want to make an important point. I know everybody today is so used to making difference through social media.
Right.
And that's great. And we have social media. But
Right.
I want to encourage you, because when I started Act for America back in 2002, right after 9/11, by the way, this is our 20th anniversary. I can't believe it's been 20 years. When I started Act for America, Facebook did not exist. Twitter did not exist. Social media didn't exist as it is today. I mean, people were just learning how to use the internet. I built an organization to be 1.7 million members and thousands of chapters nationwide. We have helped pass now almost 200 bills on the federal level and the state level to take our country. But the way we started our chapters, it was people getting together in their local community via email. This way, Zuckerberg cannot stop you from meeting your neighbors in your neighborhood. Right. You know 5 friends, Paul and Nancy and Carol and Brent and Brigitte, and you can say, hey, I'm starting an Act for America group. I want you to show up to my house Friday evening. We're going to order pizza and we're going to start a chapter. That Zuckerberg cannot stop. At the next meeting a month later, each one brings one more person. And then you all sit together. Now we have 10 people who are members of the chapter. And you have pizza. Everybody brings a dish, whatever you decide. And then you talk about, have you taken action on these action alerts? How many numbers have we been able to, emails or petitions our chapter have been able to sign? And then give a report about what the chapter has been able to, how many emails they sent to Capitol Hill, how many calls they made to their elected officials, how many petitions they have signed. And then they say, okay, next month, we're going to each bring another one person. Now the 10 turns into 20 members. The 20 members turn into 40 members. The 40 members turn into 80 members. Before you know it, you have a thriving chapter, and Zuckerberg cannot stop you because you are meeting together in your neighborhood one-on-one. You can meet at your local library. You can meet at a local restaurant, have breakfast, or have lunch on a Saturday, book a room. There are many ways, but we will train you. We will mentor you. We will show you how it's done. We will assign you a mentor. That's how we make a difference. And social media has nothing to do with it. We are utilizing social media to advance our message. Right. But don't ever think that social media can be the end of our life and the end of the organization, right. Because we started without social media, and we figure out a way around social media to network and organize in our local communities.
There you go. It's all done for you, folks. It couldn't be easier. Just go to actforamerica.org, sign up for the alerts for free, a tax-deductible donation to defend your country for future generations to come together. Victory is in reach, folks, and it starts by getting active for America, actforamerica.org. Another great broadcast, news you can act on from where you are. Always great to see you, Lady Brigitte. Can't wait till next time.
Thank you. Great to be with you. America as we know it is being transformed before our very eyes. Flags flew on every street corner in the aftermath of 9/11. Now, the American flag is considered a hate symbol on college campuses. Athletes broke out in tears of pride as the national anthem played before their games. Now, athletes who disgrace and kneel during our anthem are celebrated as heroes. Patriotism is seen as hateful, and hate is seen as patriotism. Our nation is at a crossroads of irreversible consequences. Western civilization and the Judeo-Christian values it was founded upon are under attack from enemies abroad and within. Freedom of speech has been eliminated by the tyranny of tolerance. Christmas has been under assault for years. Just saying Merry Christmas got you an ugly look. Children are being indoctrinated with radical Islamic propaganda in their classrooms and even taken to mosques for field trips at the very same time that their schools are eliminating Judeo-Christian traditions in the name of political correctness. Police officers are targeted and killed by thugs and criminals while the mainstream media smears them and victimizes their killers. After decades of unvetted Islamic immigration, Europe remains defenseless against terrorist attacks. We are starting to see the same trend happen in America. I wrote Rise as a battle cry for national security, patriotism, Judeo-Christian values, and American exceptionalism. It's a battle cry for the heart and soul of this nation, a nation which defeated the mighty British Empire to gain its independence, that helped defeat Hitler, that beat the menacing Soviet Union, put a man on the moon, and changed the world forever. Will we sit back and watch the greatest country the world has ever known slowly fade away? Or will we rise as our nation rose time and time again when it mattered most? Footprints in history are not made sitting down, and countries cannot be saved by hashtags and tweets. You never really own freedom. You only preserve it for the next generation. We are in a fight for freedom, for democracy, for human rights, and for all of Judeo-Christian values. We hold a weapon our enemies can never match, the spirit of the American patriot. America is not a geographic location. America is an attitude forged in bravery and patriotism. Our founders didn't give a flying kite whether King George approved of them or not. They did what they knew was right for America. It is that spirit which must rise once again. Rise like our forefathers rose against King George and the mighty British Empire. Rise like we rose after civil war that tore our nation apart. Rise like we rose for 2 world wars, which changed history forever. Rise like we rose against communism and the evil Soviet Empire. We rose then. We must rise now against Islamic terrorism, against fascism, against the anti-American forces that work within our own society, against any and all who seek to destroy our nation and the Judeo-Christian values it was founded upon. If we fail to rise, future generations will cease to know the America we did and will ask why we chose apathy instead of action. What will you tell them? It's time to change course before the clock strikes midnight on our nation. It's time to restore the America we know and love. It's time to rise in defense of our Judeo-Christian values and freedom.